So first of all, let me express my gratitude to truly, there is no greater county executive in all of the United States of America than Joseph DiVincenzo. He is an extraordinary leader. And when I was mayor of this city, and I know he continues to be, he was the greatest partner I could possibly have. The fact that he's here today, and I remember when we had a horrible shooting by a county park with 4 children lined up. Ivy Hill, shot execution style. 3 of them died, 1 amazingly lived. I remember your leadership then. You helped to heal a broken community. You stood in the gap in an unimaginable, painful time for our city. How many times have you and I had to stand together?
Too many.
How many times have we stood with grieving parents?
Too many times.
And so you are a leader of incredible acumen and an administrator that I have seen no better, but you are a man of incredible spirit. After him, Ras Baraka spoke. The mayor of Newark, New Jersey didn't become a servant when he became the mayor. From the time that he was an activist on the campus of Howard University, he has been a consistent voice against violence and injustice. He was a teacher in the classroom, and he knows the pain of standing before children and knowing that so many of our children, not just urban children, in low-income neighborhoods from rural America to urban America, there is no difference between violent crime rates per capita. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but poverty and violence are intrinsically linked. That's why Martin Luther King called poverty violence in and of itself. And the mayor of this city knows what it is to stand before children, to educate children who are survivors of childhood trauma. The mayor of the city knows that when fireworks go off on 4th of July, there are people in our city that call the police, that tell stories about their children showing signs of post-traumatic stress, not celebrating freedom and liberty, but living with shackles on of fear. Because when they hear fireworks, they dive for cover, hide in closets. The mayor of the city knows what it is to stand before a classroom of 30 children and ask them, how many people here know someone who has died of gun violence, and have every hand go up. Mayor Baraka is an extraordinary leader in every way, and if you look at his record on driving down violent crime, I don't know if there's a better one in New Jersey. Last I checked, and we were at a 50-year low for crime in Newark. 50-year low, but he will be the first person to tell you, when one person is shot in a city, the crime rate is too high. And what do we do to this county executive and this mayor and mayors and county executives all over New Jersey? What do? Well, the state passes laws. New Jersey has the 3rd lowest incidence of gun violence in America. The state's doing their job. But when you still have hundreds of New Jerseyans murdered every single year, thousands wounded, suicides, domestic violence, we should be ashamed of ourselves, because this is not an inevitable destiny, it is a policy choice. And so New Jersey passes laws. But let me tell you right now, most of the guns in our community, Sheriff Fontoura, no matter what this county executive does, no matter what this mayor does, no matter what this extraordinary sheriff does, the guns aren't coming from our state. Our state is stepping up and doing the right thing. When a state passes background checks, violent crime goes down. When a state has gun licensing, violent crime goes down. But a state is only as safe as the gun laws in the states that surround it. Most of the guns in New Jersey, 87% of the guns that this county executive, that sheriff, that this mayor gets off of our streets come from out of state. They come from states that have lax gun laws. They come from states where straw purchases, unregulated gun shows, loophole after loophole allows these very weapons to come on our streets and do horrible things. You see people standing behind me. Some of them know personally, you'll hear from them. The unimaginable grief of losing a loved one. Do we have such a poverty of empathy in our country where we cannot be moved to change our laws unless something happens to us? Senator Menendez and I are here today to do what some of these t-shirts say, to demand. The mayor will know it. Change, as King said, doesn't roll in on the wheels of inevitability. Frederick Douglass said it. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And so we're here today to make a demand. First of all, I celebrate Joe Biden. He's already started to directly confront the issues of violence by supporting legislation that Bob and I have been calling for to cut the child tax credit, to expand the child tax credit and cut child poverty in half. We need to make that permanent. That will help lower violence rates. But he has executive authority, and Senator Menendez and I are calling on him to use his executive authority to keep guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them, to close the gun show loophole, and to support evidence-based, community-centered violence intervention programs that work. When I was mayor, and I know I can get a amen from Mayor Baraka, we could often find grants to hire more police, but the police are being asked to treat the symptom of a problem. Mayor Baraka knows finding grants to get at the root of the problem, evidence-based programs that will stop violence from happening in the first place, that's hard to find. And so I am championing legislation with the best partner I could ever have, Senator Menendez, to fund those programs that we know work. From Oakland to Newark, we know when you invest in community, you drive crime down. And we're also saying, not just to fund my bill, the Break the Cycle of Violence Act, but we must once and for all in the United States of America pass universal background checks. And some of these weapons, with a pull of a trigger in seconds, can take multiple lives. I don't need to be told that. I know that from the time I was mayor. I remember one summer day, we had 13 people shot in a matter of seconds on a street corner because someone pulled out one of these weapons. We need to ban assault weapons in the United States of America. Weapons of war do not belong on our streets. And let me tell you this last one, because I was sitting in a judiciary hearing debating common sense gun laws where the majority of Americans agree. The majority of Americans, Republican, Democrat, Independent, agree. This is not controversial in America. And I listened to some colleagues on the other side of the aisle keep saying that we're coming for your guns. Law-abiding citizens, I'm not worried about that. They account for, I don't know, 1-2%. I believe we need to keep guns out of the hands of people that want to do harm. We know background checks do that. Thousands of people are stopped from using guns with background checks. But let me tell you something else that does it, gun licensing. And of course, the extreme fear-mongering from people who oppose licensing will say, hey, if as soon as we start licensing, they're going to take away our guns. The next step will be confiscation. That is a lie. That is fear-mongering. As I said to my friends behind me, when I go in for my car licensing, when I go into the DMV, I don't walk in there with the fear, wait a minute, if I license myself for a car to drive, they're going to come and try to confiscate my car. That's just not going to happen. We know in states like Connecticut, when they put licensing in place, gun violence dropped 40% in their state. But Connecticut's guns still come in from out of state on the iron pipeline, Highway 95. And so I want to say the last thing we must do, we must demand, is that we say in the United States of America, if you need a license to buy and drive a car, you should have a license to buy a gun that could kill people. We need universal licensing. Now, let me tell you, change is not easy. It is hard. Great change demands great work. It demands great commitment. Civil rights wasn't easy, it was hard. Suffrage was not easy, it was hard. Workers' rights was not easy, it was hard. But I know America. We like doing hard things. And this is a time we need folks to step up and be champions. We need to end the poverty of empathy and have every American say, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Because this past 2 weeks, it was Atlanta and Boulder. But next time, it could be the suburbs of New Jersey. It could be the towns of Cumberland County. It could be right here in our neighborhood, here in Newark. And so I ask everyone to join in. Don't just sit back. Don't just mourn. Don't just give thoughts and prayers, because faith without works is dead. And if you got a hard fight, if you got a tough work ahead, there's one person, I'm telling you, that makes it a lot easier. Truly one of the hardest working, most committed, most determined fighters for justice I have ever met in my life. And that is my senior senator and my dear friend, Robert Menendez.